Hello and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Linda, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thank you, Linda, and welcome everyone who is with me in the Zoom room right now, and all of you watching on YouTube or Facebook, whether you're watching live or watching the recording later on. We are so happy to have you as a part of the energy that is Unity of Fredericksburg. Our broadcast date today is Sunday, December 21st, and today is the winter solstice. So I have a little bit for you from the Spiritual Passages website about the solstice. Solstice means sun standing still. And in the northern hemisphere, it's the first day of winter, the shortest day, and the longest night of the whole year. Now, in pagan tradition, the winter solstice was the night that the great mother goddess gave birth to the new sun, restarting the cycle of the seasons. In other traditions, it's also called the Yule, and it's a day where people would have a Yule log, a big bonfire around which everyone would dance and sing to awaken the sun from its long winter's nap. And going back to Roman times, celebrations were held as a form of sun worship, announcing that the winter is not forever, that life continues, and an invitation to stay in good spirits. So, and here's a quote from Margaret Atwood, Canadian poet, teacher, and environmental activist. This is the solstice, the still point of the sun, its cusp and midnight, the year's threshold and unlocking, where the past lets go of and becomes the future, the place of caught breath. Nice, huh? All right. So, however you may be celebrating the winter solstice, happy winter solstice, friends. Today is also the fourth Sunday of Advent. And we have been looking at the Advent season this year as a season of preparation, of going within and reflecting and creating sacred space for nurturing and expressing a new aspect of divine light in our lives, whatever that is. So you might be in a phase of life where you have big changes coming or happening right now, or you may be reflecting on things that have happened in the past as we go through Advent, or you just might be remaining open to the mystery of the new year to come. So whatever the case, Advent invites us to be open to something new, expressing as the Christ light in our own lives, in our own consciousness. And on Sunday mornings, we have been looking at the classic nativity story from the Bible, examining the layers of meaning for it in the here and now, because we in Unity, we do not take the Bible literally, as these stories were literally something that happened years ago. One of the things we have been doing this year in 2025 is spending some time with metaphysical Bible interpretation, which is something that Unity is very strong with and very robust with, because we know that Scripture is always rich with meaning for those who look. Here's a quote from Unity minister Eric Butterworth. Christmas has little magic in it when we are just looking backwards to worship the child in the manger. Magic is found by looking forward to a day when our own Christ light unfolds in our lives, a time to look inward to its presence right now. So that's what we're continuing to do here today. Now, the nativity story in the Bible shows up in two of the Gospels, the Gospel of Matthew and Luke. And this month we started off Advent talking about the character of Mary facing really big changes on the way and noticing her presence of peacefulness and accepting. Now, she has plenty of questions, just like all of us have when big changes happen, but she's willing to just kind of sit with her questions, not feeling the need to do things or change things, grounded in faith. She's willing to let it be, right? And then we spend a Sunday talking about Joseph. Now, when faced with news of big changes, Joseph, his mind initially moves into that phase of making plans to fix things and make everything better. But he too makes that shift into being willing to be present with what is and take things one moment at a time and move through all the obstacles that come through the nativity story with grace and with faith. And today we're going to talk about some other characters in this biblical nativity and see what they have to show us. So I've been using as a reference this year this wonderful little book that I received from truthunity.net. This is Christmas Bible lessons with a metaphysical interpretation included. So I'm going to start off by just reading a little bit of scripture that we're going to start with here today. Okay. And this is the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, I think. So, now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of King Herod, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who is born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." So one of the basic things that we use in Unity's metaphysical Bible interpretation is that when a scripture passage is talking about men, that equals thoughts, right? So in that particular passage, we had wise men from the east, and then it also said saw his star in the east. So there's a lot about the east. So we have this reference, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. So when we look up east, east represents inner wisdom. And here's from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. From the regions of interior wisdom come thoughts of reverence and rich gifts of substance and understanding. So just think about that when you hear about these thoughts, these men coming from the east, thoughts coming from inner wisdom. And it says that what does it say? Saw a star in the east. So, what is that? So a star represents revelation of truth that is yet remote. Beyond what the human mind can conceive, stars are sometimes likened to psychic thoughts. So this is in those moments where you have an inkling of something new, an inkling of something coming. You don't quite know what it is yet, but you can feel it. You can sense it at a level of intuition that's kind of beyond your human senses. So for us in the here and now, these wise men from the east following a star represent thoughts and feelings arising from our inner wisdom. And I'm kind of reaching down to where wisdom, our power of wisdom, is kind of here in the belly. So rising up that inner wisdom and feeling the call of our own divinity and its desire to express something new. So, are you willing to be present to these pings of inner wisdom without needing to make a plan or have all the answers or get into it with your human brain? Can you just be present with it and kind of in awe? Now, in the biblical story, just like happens in our human lives, scripture throws in some interference. And it comes from King Herod. So when King Herod gets wind of this baby being born and these wise men coming from the east, he calls the wise, like, hey, come and meet with me. And they have, they have some tea, they have a chat, and he asks them, you go and check on that baby and you come back and tell me. And so here is now King Herod represents the human mind and the activity of the outer world. So even when we have these pings of something coming on a spiritual level, it's no surprise that our human brain wants to get involved, right? And it wants to be in charge and it thinks it knows what's the right thing to do. So these the wise ones, they indeed go, we know they go to see Jesus, but they do not return back to Herod. They stay grounded in spirit and don't play that game. So again, that's something that we can reflect on when we have information from intuition showing up for us. Sure, our brain is going to want to get involved with that, but we can always say, no, let's keep this in the realm of spirit. So let me read a little bit more here from the scripture so we can see what else we have to talk about. This is Matthew chapter 2, verses 9 through 11. This would be the wise ones from the east, having heard the king, went their way, and behold, the star which they saw in the east went before them until it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. Now, the theme for this week of Advent is joy, right? So that's one thing we can be open to. As you navigate change coming in your life, or change that you're still kind of processing, or something you're not quite sure, but you have that sense something is coming, as you hear in this time of year things about the nativity, as you see those little nativity scenes that pop up here and there, let that be a reminder to you to trust your own inner wisdom, to find joy as you follow your wisdom rather than your ego that wants to be in charge. And here are a couple of affirmations you can support yourself with in those moments. Here's one: I discover joy as I trust my power of divine wisdom. I discover joy as I trust my power of divine wisdom. Here's another one: I am willing to let it be without knowing all the answers. I am willing to let it be without knowing all the answers. So there's some good stuff for us from scripture using our metaphysical Bible interpretation when it comes to the three wise men from the east. Now, just so you know, just a point of fact, these wise men from the east, they appear in the Gospel of Matthew, but not in the Gospel of Luke. Now we're going to talk about some characters that show up in the Gospel of Luke, but not in the Gospel of Matthew. So it's just kind of a point of fact when you see those nativity scenes where you've got everybody all in there together, the wise ones, the shepherds, all this stuff doesn't actually show up that way anywhere in the Bible. That's kind of two different Gospels cobbled together. So we're talking now about the shepherds, okay? So I'm going to read to you a little bit so that we can get into the story and what the shepherds have to show for us. So this is the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verses 8 through, let's see, where am I going? 8 through 10, I think. There were shepherds in the same country, staying in the field and keeping watch by night over their flock. Behold, an angel of the Lord stood by them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. The angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy, which will be to all the people." So, one of the things that um, we talk about when we are interpreting the Bible in unity is that we view scripture as activity happening in consciousness. So, in that way, every bit of scripture, when you are tapping into it, is about you and where you are and what's going on right now in your consciousness. So, in consciousness, shepherds are kind of just like what they sound, like what the word means to us. Shepherds are those thoughts that keep our thoughts, kind of keep the herd together. So we know that all of our thoughts will kind of get in line behind certain beliefs, right? And the shepherd thoughts are the ones that protect us from the thoughts that are straying, from the error thoughts, and kind of keep everything in alignment. Now, in this case, the shepherds in our consciousness have received a divine download, right? A message, and that's what an angel is metaphysically. Here's some good news, is the message coming, that something is good, something very joyful. So, what happens next in the story is that the shepherds go, let's find out about this. They want to go and see. They want to bear witness to this, what is a new divine light being born, and that would be the baby Jesus, of course. Then once they see it, they immediately go and spread the word to as many people as they can. Like, here's the good news. So the shepherds in our consciousness are doing the same. So we've got this inkling, we've got this divine download that something good is coming. And then in consciousness, our shepherd thoughts are kind of taking it out into all areas of consciousness. So something good is coming. Something good is coming in health. Something good is coming in prosperity. Something is good in coming in relationships. And those shepherd thoughts spread the word. And so let's run an example here for a while. So in Advent, you may have asked yourself, what is mine to do? It's kind of natural as we come to the end of one calendar year and we move into the next. It's a good time to reflect and go, what is mine to do? Now, the response that you might feel rising up through your divine wisdom, the star that's there in consciousness, let's imagine that it has something to do with your own self-care. Right? Self-care can show up in lots of different ways. But let's say you're getting an inkling, I need to do more in the way of self-care. And you're claiming that this divine wisdom is your guide. Then your guiding thoughts, your shepherd thoughts, are going to become alive to this new way of being. And then your gut and your heart and your mind begin to get on board and fire up with ideas of how to make this new light of self-care manifest in your life. Now, these shepherd thoughts, these guiding thoughts are going to check in on self-care in different areas of your life and spread this new energy of like, wouldn't our health be better if we change this in our lives? Wouldn't our flow of good feel better if we change this way of being? So there's kind of the dynamic of sort of the star, the wisdom, which is the wise ones, the shepherd thoughts going, let's spread the word of the good throughout our life. And just like scripture shows us, if and when you find that your brain, your ego wants to step in and list out for you the things to worry about and the questions to ask, you can support yourself in remaining in the spiritual lane with some affirmations. So I have some more affirmations for you to consider this morning. Here's the first one. I am awake and alive to joyful experiences. I am awake and alive to joyful experiences. Here's another one. I am willing to be open to new opportunities. I am willing to be open to new opportunities. So that's reflecting our power of will, right? Claiming that we are willing to be open, making the decision to be open. And here's a third one that taps into our power of zeal. I express spiritual zeal, and I am grateful. I express spiritual zeal, and I am grateful. Notice that all of these themes that we're talking about from the scripture, from the nativity, particularly when it comes to these wise ones and the shepherds, are all enthralled with joy. So very often in our lives, change comes with stress and worry, but what we want to lean into here is the enthusiasm and the joy. And that this kind of process, when we feel it happening, as we open our minds and our hearts to that classic nativity story, we can open ourselves to new thoughts, new ideas, to resonating with that divine core that we are. So when you hear the classic Christmas music, when you see a nativity scene, ask yourself, what does this story have to say to you? We've talked about lots of different aspects that it might be speaking to you. What kind of joy does it light up in your heart? When you see those manger scenes and hear that music, what's coming up for you in your life? Not tied to the literal stories in the Bible, but to all of this activity in consciousness that we've been talking about. This activity of bringing about a new expression of the divine energy, that core of what and who we are, that in unity we'll call the Christ, that is within each one of us. What is it that wants to come forth for you in the new year or in this moment or however it shows up to you? This process that we have been using with the metaphysical Bible interpretation can help you make it real for yourself right here in the here and now. So we're going to continue with using this Christmas Bible lessons as we move into our time of meditation, because this wonderful resource has not only the scripture, but then it also shares interpretations and meditations. So I invite you to take a deep breath, and I'm going to read for you one of the interpretations here from this book, and we'll use this for our time of meditation. And this goes back to the story we were reading about the wise ones seeing the star. So this is entitled, When They Saw the Star, They Rejoiced with Exceedingly Great Joy. Rejoice in the rising of spirit within. A spiritual awareness awakens. The understanding of your true self unfolds like a blossoming flower. Each petal reveals new divine ideas and expresses the life force of God within you. We are inwardly gifted, just as the wise ones brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These sacred symbols offer spiritual guidance. Gold represents the richness of divine wisdom. Frankincense symbolizes the purity of prayer and connection with spirit. Myrrh points to the life's lessons that prepare us for transformation. These inner gifts lead us along the path of understanding and raise us into a higher state of consciousness. And now we will move into a time in the stillness together. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When we apply our faith to shape divine substance, we begin to manifest our heart's deepest desires. Jesus assured us of our divine potential, saying, "He that believeth on me, the works that I shall do, he shall do also, and greater works than these shall he do." You and I are being called to those greater works by the light within. And we're going to close this time of meditation with an affirmation. Each day, I bless the gifts I receive. Say it with me, friends. Each day, I bless the gifts I receive. Let's do it one more time. Each day, I bless the gifts I receive. And so it is. Thank you so much for being here today. And if you're watching or recording, thank you so much for being with us in that way. And I'm going to hand it back to our friend Linda.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. And thank you all for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofba.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation, and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks again for watching, and see you next